Good afternoon, Doc Wendy. Good afternoon, classmates. My name is Ridzana David, and my topic for today, strategies in teaching psychomotor skills. We will start. Learning objectives. By the end of this lecture, the participants should be able to first define the psychomotor skills as a teaching strategies. Second, enumerate the stages of skill learning. And third, differentiate factors that enhance psychomotor skills. So, psycho from the layman's term, mind, and motor is movement. Here, we will talk about the psychomotor skills of a learner. Means the combinations of a physical skills such as movement, coordination, manipulation, dexterity, grace, strength, and speed. In short, it requires neuromuscular coordinations. So, teaching psychomotor skills in nursing. What is the goal of an educator? The primary focus of nursing was on practical skills or the hands-on doing for patients. That's why in our curriculum, for the lower level, we have a return demonstrations in the laboratory, and for the senior level, we have a related learning experience in clinical settings. So what is the role of an educator in psychomotor skills of a learner? First one is mastering skills for a student before coming into the contact with patients. That's why we have a return demonstration. During this time, students focus on the fundamental of nursing by practicing psychomotor skills in nursing laboratory. Not just motor activity, we also considered attention, concern, compassions to be shown to patients. We emphasize here what is our purpose or what is the purpose of being a nurse. We, the nurse, our centered care is patients. The second one is to evaluate the readiness of the student to encounter different type of patients. By how? With the help of technical skills and communication skills. That's why we have stages of skill learning. The first stage is getting the idea of movement. The initial step in this is having a goal. We will assess the regulatory stimuli of the learner in open and closed skills, or how the learner adjusts into the different environments. So in here, in example of the closed skills is hand washing and bed making to an unoccupied bed. We practice this more on in laboratory. And then for the open skills, this one. And for the open skills, the example of this is catheterizations and giving injections to the infant. Here in open skills, we more focus in the clinical settings. From the laboratory to the clinical settings, the scenario can be changed. Like for example, is the positions of the patients. If the infant is crying, carrying by his or her mother, if the patient is talking to you. So do you see the difference of closed skills and open skills? In open skills is unpredictable and changing stimuli. Okay. So once the learner recognizes and attends to the necessary stimuli, student nurses will begin to plan movements to meet the environmental demands. That's why they're required to attain the goal. Remember the initial step in stage 1 is having a goal. So if they already have a goal, the learner then execute this motor plan with greater or lesser success. It depends on the learner. Learner cannot be proceed to stage 2 if they cannot succeed the first stage. That's why learner will go back to the initial step, which is having a go. And then for the second stage, fixation or diversification. Here, in fixations, we applied more on the close skills. Means the repeatedly practicing the skills. Example of this is donning and doffing of sterile gloves, in hand washing, and the bed making. Even though you are in the OR, ER, or DR, the the stimuli will not change because you already practiced, you already mastered the donning and doffing of sterile gloves. Did you understand, guys? And then, in diversification, here the learner practice in a variety way to meet the changing environment. So this is more applicable in the open skills in the clinical settings. Like for example, from the dummy to the real person or to the patients. How do you approach the real patients? Like for example is in the characterization, the the positions of the patients. If you will give the privacy, if it's in the ward room or in the private room. And another example is giving an injection to the infant. The positions of the infant. If the infant is lying down, sitting down, or your comfortability to inject the vaccine, like for example. Here in diversification, learner can produce new stimuli and in the process fixes it in memory. Okay? So, factor that enhance psychomotor skills. The first one is attention. Paying attention for the full topic is quite difficult, even for us, but more for the student or for the undergrad. That's why there's a selective attention when performing the skills. Mostly learner, they are easily distracted. According to newer theory of attention, humans have limited availability of resources to carry out all the activities that may be attempted at one time. What do you mean by resources? The influence of internal and external factors. So arousal is one of the internal influencing factors. This one is arousal. Arousal is too high, the learner is excitability. And too low, the learner is passivity. What do you mean by excitability? Excitability means the eagerness or the excitement of the learner to learn. They are easily become excited. And then for the passivity is an opposite. They did not exert effort to level up their attentions. Like for example is it's okay. It's okay if they fail me. It's okay if I am not good enough. So that's the two example of the learner's attention. Some helpful strategies to focus their attentions in performing close skills. The first one is the muscle relaxation techniques and breathing control. So we allow the learner at least to shake their hands, to breathe properly, And sometimes they allow, some educator, they allow learners to shout. And then second one is allow them to practice using the visualizations and mental imagery to internal experience the skills. Actually, I'm doing this one during my college time. Um, like for example, this skills is wound dressing. So from inner to outer with circular motions, I'm practicing that one. And lastly, concentrating to the important segment of the skills. So what do you mean by this? Verbal, visual, and written instruction from the educator that he or she wants you to perform. Some of the educator, they will just highlight in a checklist during the demonstrations, they will just highlight what you will need to say or what you will need to do. You don't need to give the rationale of this. From number 1 to number 5, you will just say this one. From 6 to 15, you will just do this one. Okay, so the next one is feedback. Feedback, it may be intrinsic or extrinsic. So intrinsic feedback, originates from the learner. After finish their return demonstration, they will evaluate their performance. So the questions of the learner towards their self is, I am good, it is good, it's my clinical instructor impressed. Or if I did something wrong, it is same with what I practice. So that's the big question for themselves. And then for an extrinsic feedback, this one is a source from the teacher or other, like your classmates. It is called augmented feedback or coming from the larger feedback. This one is augmented feedback. Augmented feedback. So there's a two type of augmented feedback. The knowledge of result and knowledge of performance. The knowledge of result is the um, is a verbal feedback about the learner performance. Means you allow the educator to give the comment or suggestions. Like for example is during catheterization skills. Okay, you will do you did good. You already doing good, and then however you will not ask the patients to inhale while inserting the catheter, or you did not you don't have any therapeutic communications to the patients. And then for the KP or knowledge of performance, it's an external information about the action process, the um, overall demonstration, your return demonstrations, your actions, your overall performance. So knowledge of performance was valuable in this case. You will allow the student to watch his or her performance in the videotape. However, both form of augmented feedback is useful. So, here, the learner allows them to have intrinsic feedback before being extrinsic feedback. Allow them to have time to evaluate their self first, but not too long. Maybe the interest of a learner in extrinsic feedback will be disappear. However, the disadvantage of knowledge of performance is lacking of resources, like videotape. So the knowledge of result is still reliable. And then the third one is practice. Here, the fixations and diversification has an important role. It is very important that learner has a motivations to do the practice, because repeatedly practicing is quite exhausted, right? The role of an educator is to supervise the practice or the learner. One of the reasons is the complexity of the skills. Example of this is the CPR. Masterful of performing skills smoothly with greater control and less wasted time and motions. Even professional nurses and working in the hospital renewing their skills in CPR. There's a two types of practice. It depends on the timing and sequencing of this practice. The first one is mass practice. This one, mass practice, and second is distributed practice. So what do you mean by mass practice? Mass practice means is the repeated practice sessions that with a little or very short, sometimes it's no rest period between the trials. Example of this is moving return demonstration. Remember that one? We took that one for at least 30 to 1 hour. We will move from the other skills to the other. So here, the learner must be motivated and their skills level must be high. And the second one is distributed practice. This distributive practice said that this one is more rest period or greater than the time period trial. So what do you mean by this? Short period only of practice and more rest. Okay, example of this is the hand washing, um, uh, insertion cannula. That's the example of distributed practice. So it is more this distributed practice more applicable in short-term memories. Okay, so practice generalizations that can be drawn from the literature. The first one, they said that psychomotor skills are best using a greater number of short practice sessions rather than fewer long sessions. So this is more on mass practice. This is more on distributed practice than mass practice. And the second one, distributed practice is generally better than the mass practice. So it's the same with the first one. And the third reason is the practice must be long enough for the learner to make applicable progress. So rest period must be short enough that forgetting does not occur. However, the length with practice and resting period varies with the particular skills. So before I will end this topic, I just want to say, or my conclusions, that practicing the psychomotor skills composed of mental and physical practice, not mental practice alone or physical practice alone. If you are interested with my topic, this is my reference. Thank you so much.